Okay. So, the first person to join this call that I want us to celebrate today is Osman Mageri from Bauchi. You're very much welcome, Osman. And then we have Tani Yakub. Tani Yakub has been consistent, for the past 4 days joining this call early. Thank you very much from Data Science Nigeria, Kaduna. That's the Arewa ladies for tech community in Kaduna. Thank you very much, Tani. Yes, DSNB UK, Usman. Okay, you're very much welcome. Praise, yes. Praise has also been consistent for the past 4 days. DSN Futa, Oija Yusuf, DSNB UK, Kano, DSN Ilorin, Peter from DSN Ilorin, Olatiji Peter, you're welcome. Shafa, DSN Otalidia, DSN Lagos. Yes, that's Ida Mekiaja or Shomoli. You're very much welcome. DSN Ijebode, you're very much welcome. Abdul Wahab. Okay. I'm not going to be taking our time today. I'm just going to quickly take us through what we stand for Data Science Nigeria in few slides, so that we can move straight to the section that we have today. Please, I want you to give a shout out to Telegram, viewers. Yes, all our Telegram viewers, please a shout out to you. Yes, I'm very sure you're aware that we are streaming this live on Data Science Nigeria Telegram group. Yes, where we have 3,000 members. Yes, so we have, you know, DSA members. So we appreciate you joining. Please keep on doing that. Okay, good. So let me just quickly take us through in case you are joining us for the first time, and that's why we are doing this about Data Science Nigeria. You know that at Data Science Nigeria, we are committed to raising a million AI talent and building AI solutions that improve the quality of life and the well-being of the 2 billion people living in the emerging market. And that's why we do what we do, organize the training, the interventions, and the programs. And then these are 5 pillars of impact. Yes, our 5 pillars of impact, which are research, community development, and when we're speaking to the community, the capacity building, ecosystem development, consulting, and product development. Okay, so let me just take you through what we do at Data Science Nigeria community. I know we are leaders in democratizing AI knowledge across Africa. We are in different countries, 4 countries, including campuses and cities in Nigeria. Yes, that's the testament. Those our community members dropped their the community they belongs to earlier on, and have recognized them. We are recognized by multiple national and international awards. The DSA community provides extensive learning resources and engagement opportunities through initiatives like the African largest AI bootcamp, the free AI classes in every city. And then we have various groups because we make sure that there is always a group, a community for everyone. We want to make sure that you fit into a group. You want to cater for everyone's needs, and that is it. I mentioned, we have the campus, the city, yeah, for executive. Please, as you remember those tracks that I multifaceted DSN communities, please, I want you to drop them on the chat. All the DSN communities that I mean, the AI for executive, AI for schools, kids and teens. Please, I want you to update it. Just drop them on the chat. I want to see those who have been following us from day one, because today I'm not sharing that slide because I know that I've spoken over it over and over. Yeah, the DSN ladies in AI, good DSN campus. Okay. I want more DSN City. Latunji is on point. Latunji Peter. Yes, kiddies and teens. Sadika, thank you very much. Yes, DSN AI for kids and teens. Yes. So we have a lot, and then there is all we have for all partners. We have for practitioners, and we have for startups. We have DSN talents and all. So now this is the question: why should I be a DSNer? And why should you be a DSNer? Is answered by this wise. So we have 4 major points why you should be a DSNer. Number one, you have access to mentorship opportunity. We have the different mentorship opportunity. We have the research mentorship that's currently running. Apart from the ladies in AI mentorship that just ended a few days ago. Access to free premium training content like what we are running now. We also have research support and collaboration for all our community members. Now, for community members have access to what certificate of administration at the end of the year. Now, these are community members who are active at their local DSN community and also active at the what at the central DSN community. They attend our training, they attend our meetup, our events, they are active in their local community. They respond, they engage on social media. They are ambassadors. They don't have the title, but that's what they are doing. They are ambassadors everywhere, preaching the good news of data science Nigeria and the DSN community, everywhere they find themselves. And then they also keep to our core values everywhere. Now, to become a DSNer, I mean, this is the link. You can scan this barcode. It will take you to this link to the page where you can register to become a DSNer. And then to know a community that is very close to you, just scan this barcode. My colleagues will also be dropping the link to the to the site where you can access and know the community that is very close to you. Okay, this is DSN Learning Calendar, so that you can also schedule yourself, your calendar to this, so that you won't miss any important meeting, trainings, or meetup that you ought to be part of. Now, this knowledge box is part of our ways of democratizing and the AI knowledge. We have thousands of learning content on this, and then you can always access it via this link or scan this barcode to access it. Okay, so the journey to the AI bootcamp. Now, the reason we always speak about the journey to the AI bootcamp is because we have started. Fear in every city is actually part of the journey, as you can see on my screen. Is the beginning of the journey, and that's what we have started. So I celebrate everyone on this call who have started this journey, and it goes on from the Fear in every city to the hackathon that is going to be starting very soon. And then the 30 days pre-bootcamp learning. Now, the Fear classes, hackathon, and preparation is to prep you and prepare you for the AI bootcamp qualification hackathon that will be happening in August. I'm very sure you're excited and you cannot wait to be part of this experience, competing and validating your skills, with a lot of data scientists in Nigeria and even in Africa. Okay, so this is how AI in every city looks like, a part of the Free and Every City for this year is going to be a physical section where learners in each community will meet, put face to each other, speak, and then it's going to be it's just going to look like an hangout, and then you will not want to miss it. And very soon a communication will be out to let you know where your community will be meeting and how it's going to work, the dates, all the details will be shared with you. So just take note and please watch out for it. Now, DSNL Bootcamp, these are the important facts you need to know about the bootcamp. Number one, it is all expense paid, your transportation, accommodation, and what again? And feeding. Everything is paid for, is catered for by Data Science Nigeria. We also have advanced machine learning and deep learning concepts will be treated, natural language, computer vision, big data, what is it? Large language model, generative AI. Okay, you can just keep on and keep on. Agentic AI, everything, just spatial AI will be catered for at the what? All expense paid Data Science Nigeria bootcamp. Okay, application of AI is also part of what we focus on, and also it aligns with the vision of raising a millionaire internet. So this is how it looks like for last year. It was very fun. It was fun. If you are here and you enjoyed last year bootcamp, you're part of it. Just drop your favorite emoji, just to show how interesting it was. Out of 30,000 learners, we only selected 200 best of the best that made it to the bootcamp. So these are highlights from the bootcamp. There's going to be a award section, master classes. This is a master class on research, writing, panel section. This one for ladies in AI. Oh, cultural night, very interesting nights that you want to miss. The foods are exotic. You will not want to miss it. And varieties. That's just beauty. There are varieties. There's a poster presentation, knowledge, inventions. You cannot just wait to be, you cannot wait to be part of the DSN AI Bootcamp 2025. Now, for the training delivery, for the free eye in every student review that are currently running, don't forget that the first week we have dealt with data storytelling and visualization. The second week, which was last week, was on Python for data science and machine learning. And this week is what introduction to prompt engineering. Why next week what? We focus on Microsoft Fabric for data analytics. For data analytics. Okay, please confirm that you can still hear me. Okay, thank you very much for that confirmation. Okay, good. And then the hackathon and project validation, yeah, is ready and it's going to, for the machine learning guys, it's going to be happening on Zindi Africa. Yes, you are hosting a hackathon on what? On Zindi. Yeah, so please watch out and be ready to what? Get your hands dirty. Yes, get your hands dirty. Okay, good and awesome. Now, uh, the African AI Day 2025, I'm very sure everyone on this call should have registered. Yes, it's very important for you to contribute your voice and to be part of the development of artificial intelligence in Africa. And this is one way that you can be part of it. And I promise you, it's going to be fun. A lot of fun activities lined up for you. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be winning a lot of goodies, incentive, that you would like to be part of. So please, if you have not registered, I can do that. Scan this barcode. My colleagues will also be dropping the link to registering for this event in the chat. Please take notes. It's very, very important. The date is what? It will happen on Tuesday, 27 May 2025. So now let me just um uh yesterday I requested that you should share your takeaway. For today, I'm not going to be doing that. Yes, I'm not going to be doing that. Let me just go straight to the point and let me just invite Ian, to take up the mic and just start the class right away. I promise that we're not going to be taking a lot of time in Russia today, and that's what I've kept to. So please, with your favorite emoji, join me to welcome Iman as you take up the mic. Over to you, Iman.
Thank you very much, TJ. It was amazing. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Glad to be here with us again. How are we doing today? Okay, I'm seeing some names that I'm already used to. I see Praise, Kechika, I see Tani, Olatunji, Sidikat. I'm seeing Unknown Innocent. I'm seeing Nazifi. I'm also seeing Infinix S5. All right, guys. Uh, I'm seeing Ridwan and Lucy. Okay, I'm glad to be here with us today. Um, yesterday was yesterday was an intensive one, wasn't it? Yeah. Some people, sometimes we had to reverse to catch some people and bring them back to speed. Yeah, that's what you get at DSN. It's always a rewarding experience, guys. So let me share my screen very quickly, lest I forget. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen. All right. Thank you very much. So now let's do a quick recap of the things we discussed yesterday. Can anyone give us two things we discussed yesterday? Just bullet two things that we discussed yesterday in the chat. Okay, delimiters, yes, thank you. We talked about delimiters, we talked about setting temperature. As you are listing these things, say exactly in brief sentences what they are about. So what are delimiters for and what does temperature control accomplish? Okay, control response like the back tick. Okay, that was almost a tickle. Zero temperature, technical, yeah. Analytical and adaptive control, back ticks, yeah, thank you. One temperature, creative, okay, yeah. Chukstolu, yeah, that's right. The higher the temperature, the greater the model's creativity. Any other? Okay, role playing. What do we say about role playing? Controlling outputs using delimiters, which helps the model know what to focus on. That's correct, Shakira. That's correct. We use delimiters to help the model focus on certain parts of a prompt. We talked about tone control, reasoning and refinement. What did we say about these things? Iterative prompting, correct. Oluwakemi, what did we say about tone control? Latunji, use role play for questions and answers. Iterative prompting, that's correct. Use role play for questions and answers. Ask a model to assume a doctor position, correct. Okay, guys, I see that we are on the same page, which is a good thing. So let me also go over some of the things we discussed here. Very, very amazing. So we said you can use the limiters to help the model focus on certain parts of the text. Example, a code block. Um, we use temperature to increase or reduce model creativity, and we can reduce or increase word length by controlling tokens. I'm going to show us about token control and temperature in a bit using Grok platform. And we also said that the tone in which you prompt a model will determine how it will respond. By tone, we mean suggestive or instructive or inquisitive. And you can modify the tone of the model's output by asking it to either be formal or casual or speak warmly or firmly. Right. So the second section we handled was advanced reasoning strategies, where we talked about chain of prompts, multi-step prompts, and self-consistency prompting, each with their best use cases. We rounded up on using LLMs adaptively, like crafting prompts and iterative refinements to improve answering. Then we learned how to use LLMs for sentiment analysis and text comparisons. So yesterday, we didn't take any questions after the session. So I'm going to go into the group platform, the playground, and show you what I was talking about regarding temperature control and token control. And then, so if you had questions yesterday, we are going to answer them today. Okay, so let me take us here. Right. Right. So this is the Grok platform or Grok, however you can pronounce it. If you look on the right panel, you should see a sidebar with some parameters here. You see here, can you see that my screen parameters? I've highlighted it. Hello, can you see parameters on my screen? Great, great. Tani sees that. Okay. So you can see under parameters, you have the temperature option. You can read here, it says it controls the randomness, lowering results in less random completions. And as the temperature approaches zero, the model will become deterministic and repetitive, like I said the other time. And you see max tokens, max completion tokens is the number of tokens. Tokens are basically characters. If in the most simple way, I would define them as characters, and which the model outputs. So let's have an example here. I'm going to set the temperature to zero. I'm setting the temperature to zero, and I will set this max tokens to, let's say, 1,000. Let me make that 1,000. Okay, and then I'm going to give it a message. I'm going to ask it to write a short poem about data science Nigeria. A very short poem. Now look at this. I'm sending to the model now. So let's observe what it says here. Here is a short poem about data science Nigeria. In Nigeria's tech scene, a movement, a movement's rise, data science Nigeria with skills that surprise. A community strong with passion and fire, turning data into insights, their greatest desire. Okay, so this is nice. And if you notice, the rhyme scheme is consistent. You notice also the words that are being used are very common everyday words. Now we are going to change this. We are going to set the temperature very high. We'll set it to 2. Remember, I said that generally temperature is between 0 and 1, but it varies from model to model. So if you look here, right here, you will see that I am using Meta's Llama 4 to do this. So Llama has a temperature ranging from 0 to 2. All right, so I'm going to clear this message so that the model doesn't learn from this input. I'm going to clear it, and then I'm going to ask it to do the same thing. A short poem about data. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to copy this so that I won't have to type it again. All right, so notice we set the temperature to 2. Max completion tokens is the same, 1,000. Now let's send that. Okay, in Nigeria's tech scene, a spark takes flight. DSN Nigeria shining bright with analytics and insights. They lead the way, unlocking growth, come what may. Their expert craft solutions, bespoke and fine. So you notice that the language, although it still makes some sense, it still makes sense, the language is different. It's not as um, consistent as the other one. You notice that the language is more glamorous. Okay? I see that some people are lost. Don't worry, you're going to see it in the video. You're going to see the video recording so that you catch on. And the next thing we want to try is max completion tokens. All right, so let's set this high, make it 5,400. We clear this message again. And we'll send the same message. Let's see if it's going to give us still a short poem. Okay, I'm going to give it another prompt. Let me set this token even higher. Be more crafty with this. So I'm trying to force the model to use as many tokens as possible. That's why I'm sending this other prompt. So it's using more tokens. How many tokens here? Okay. So it's giving us the details about tokens here. It says input tokens 15K, output tokens 416, inference time, this input tokens, this, output tokens, this, tokens, this. So this is one of the ways you use to measure what is happening here. Okay, but if I reduce this, let's try to make this even smaller. Set it to 50 tokens. I'll clear this and I'll send it again. Notice I've set the token length to 50, maximum completion tokens 50, and I'm giving it the same prompt. Let's see how it does it. Do you notice that the output is even shorter? Can you see that the output is way, way short compared to others? Yeah, so that is token control. That's token control. So I'm just giving you a more hands-on approach on how you can observe the temperature control and max completion tokens. So let's go back to what we are doing today. All right, so at this point, I want to take your questions, which you couldn't give yesterday. I want to take some questions. I will spend about 5 minutes here. So we can say that the smaller the token length, the shorter the response. Yes, praise, that's correct. Smaller token length, shorter responses. Sometimes the model may not even complete its response, but because you've defined a short token length for it, that's what it's going to deal with. So are you working? No, that wasn't ChatGPT. They're all GPTs, but this wasn't ChatGPT's model. That was Meta. Meta's Llama 4. Recently released Llama 4. So if you go to the Grok Playground, you would notice that there are various models here. You see Alibaba, Queen, uh, LLM. You see DeepSeek or Meta's DeepSeek. You see Google's Gemma. You see Hugging Face and Distill Whisper Large. You know, various models are here that you can interact with. ChatGPT does have the temperature control. It's just that you cannot access it programmatically through the chat interface. You have to uh, download the model or use some other programmatic interface to interact with those parameters. You can check for yourself, Praise, but from what I'm seeing, it doesn't have the Grok LLM is not open source. So don't like you wouldn't find it here. No, no, Shakirat, the temperature doesn't necessarily have to be binary, 0 or 1. It is a range from 0 to 1. So you can have 0.1, 0.8, 0.5, anything between 0 and 1. But like we've seen with Llama, Llama extends from 0 to 2. Nke, Nkechika, no, Copilot doesn't have temperature control. Why? Because Copilot is an interactive interface. It is not necessarily a base model. It's basically a ChatGPT that is wrapped up by Microsoft packaging. Okay, so I'm going to move on right now. If you have any more questions, we'll attend to them at the end. So we want to look now at common mistakes, common mistakes that we make when dealing with AI. Remember, today we are learning about troubleshooting and AI ethics. And the first thing we'll be talking about is the various pitfalls in prompting. Sometimes in our prompts, or sometimes our prompts are vague and lacking clarity, or they have no context, or they are lacking constraints, causing the model to ramble, or we overload the model with prompts. And we overload the prompt such that the model doesn't know what to focus on. I don't know if you've been in this situation when you were younger, less than 5 minutes. That she says, "Come and buy me Gary." As you want to step out, she says, "Come and clean this table for me." While you're at the table cleaning, hoping this will just be one swipe, she says, "What are you still doing here? I thought I asked you to go and buy me Gary." And when you want to tell her what she just asked you to do, she says, "Why are you slow?" And proceeds to ask you to do something else apart from her previous instructions. Who's been there? By the time you are done, she will ask you, "Where is the Gary?" And you will stare at her in amazement, wondering, Haba, African parents, right? Okay, how many of us have been there? Okay, Victor. Right. Shade says that my mom be that. It seems like it's universal. Every every African mother is the way she maneuvers. Okay, so just the same thing. It's just the same thing with these models, right? They can only do so much per time. That is why we talked about context window. You try to be detailed as possible, but try to give the model relatable instructions so that it gives reasonable outputs. Asking the model to write about climate change in a group of software engineering prompts will not help the model generate a suitable response because these topics are not necessarily related. So Try to be constructive and concise as possible. Now, hallucinations, handling hallucination. As the name implies, hallucination is when the model says things that are untrue with high confidence. You may see this when there is insufficient source material. So you can be talking with ChatGPT about, and let's say just strike up a conversation, not just ChatGPT, even Llama. You would find this very often with Llama. That is the AI model that you have on WhatsApp. That you can strike up a conversation with it as though you've been chatting with it, and the model will play along. That is an example of hallucination. So one way to mitigate this is to help the model focus on facts by asking it to refer to sources you provided. This is where the search tool in ChatGPT comes in handy. The way the model can perform, this way the model can perform what we call RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, which is basically reading up the data source and sending it back to you. Okay. I like to add here that hallucination has its perfect use case. While we say that is a model talking crazy, it's useful in fictional situations, like when you're writing a fictitious story or you are trying to generate an image. Hallucination is very useful in such cases. So the model creating unrealistic things can be very useful in that situation. So if you have any questions, like I said, please, when we get to the end of this session, present those questions. Thank you. So basically, when we are talking about, what we are talking about is use case. On serious matters, it is considered hallucination. When it comes to other matters, it will be considered as creativity. When we talk about biases in AI, we mean a model naturally preferring certain outputs over other possible outcomes. This is usually a direct result of skewed or unbalanced training data, usually due to the lack of or underrepresented data during training. So LLMs are not inherently biased, but human beings are. Okay, I'm going to take that again. LLMs are not inherently biased, but human beings are. LLMs only perpetuate our human biases. So if it's a biased person who is developing a model, the model is going to be biased. You are what you make, you know. So, but it sometimes it's not a factor of someone's immediate flaws, but it's usually the unavailability of data to train models with. So these biases, they may show through stereotyping, like when you ask the model to generate an email to send to your boss, and it addresses your boss as a he, because according to most of his training data, most people who are called boss are often male. Bias may show linguistically or culturally, like when you ask the model to generate something in a Nigerian language, and the first language it decides to write in is Yoruba. Or when you ask it about certain things in society, and it responds to you based on a Western worldview, which is different from the African perspective. And this is what DSN is doing through Equalize AI, as the name implies. The project Afro SLM. Afro SLM. You can Google it on DSN's page, Afro SLM. through equalized AI. So DSN is making financial knowledge more available in local languages through AI. Yeah, praise, that's a good point. A typical example of garbage in, garbage out. Correct. So the other bias you want to look out for is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is also something that we have to watch out for. You will notice that when you prompt, especially ChatGPT on certain subjects, if you tell it it is wrong, it will correct itself to align with you, even if you are wrong. Have you experienced that before when interacting with some of these models? You tell it, no, 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 that's not it. It will agree with you. Yeah, you will agree with you. You say, oh, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. Especially with something like mathematics. If you ask it to calculate a math and then you tell it that it is wrong, it will say, I'm sorry, and then it will give you an even wrong answer. Yeah, so that's a confirmation bias, all right, and you have to watch out for that. Then we have representation gaps where the model cannot give you responses regarding certain groups because of the insufficiency of data on these groups. Like asking it about Nigerian billionaires, there are many billionaires in hiding in Nigeria. Yeah, but the model can't tell you about some of these names because it doesn't know those names. You have to watch out for the underrepresented groups and always have that at the back of your mind when you are prompting AI models. So, how do we mitigate these biases? Number one, use prompts that request diverse perspectives, like asking it to list both the pros and the cons. Also, specify neutral or inclusive rules. Avoid gender specific language in this job ad. Then clarify audience or culture. So, if you want it to generate something that is relative to the Nigerian culture, you have to tell it that you are writing this for a Nigerian audience. Write it in simple. And you balance prompts. You know, ask it to list arguments for and against that idea to cancel out confirmation bias. All right. Then prompt for inclusion. All right. To ask it to be inclusive. When you are giving it a prompt, tell it include examples from Africa, Asia, Latin America. So when you are talking about technological advancement, there was someone I was listening to the other day on TED Talk, and she was talking about the farming technology that we have in Africa. He said that this technology has existed in Africa for a long time, but because it's not documented the way scientists document other reports, it's not known. It's not well known beyond the region where it is practiced. Mhm. So if you want a model to capture certain information, then you have to prompt it to talk about certain areas like Africa. And then you tell it that if you don't have this information, respond telling me that you do not have that information. It helps the model to be more grounded. So we move into ethical concerns. So when we talk about ethics, there are ethics in AI. There have been a lot of concerns, security concerns in AI. There has been, yeah, by security, we also mean job security. People are saying, is AI going to take my job? We are going to address some of those things here. First is data privacy. There is the risk of exposing personal or confidential information through prompts. This is why we advise a lot of times that while you are prompting a model, you want to keep out sensitive information. Why? Because these models are capable of learning from prompts. If you go to ChatGPT, I'm going to move my screen there right now. I want to show you something. Okay. Right. If you go to settings in ChatGPT, you will see some options here. Data controls. You see that here? Data controls. And you see the first option here, which says improve the model for everyone. If you select that, what does that mean? It says improve the model for allow your content to be used to train our models, which makes ChatGPT better for you and everyone who uses it. It takes steps to protect your privacy, right? Do you see that? So you want to be careful with what you introduce in the prompts because it is capable of learning things. So if you're a creator, an inventor, you want to be careful the way you communicate your intellectual property with ChatGPT because it is capable of learning from your prompts. All right, unless you have supplied the IP protection. Uh, Otherwise, you need to be very watchful of that. And then you have transparency and disclosure concerns, which is clearly stating when AI is used to generate content. For instance, if you go to Meta's Llama on your phone and you generate an image, you will notice that at the bottom right corner, there is a watermark that identifies that this is generated by Llama. Why is this the case? It's a measure of protecting the public or informing the public that what you're seeing is not human generated, it's AI generated. All right. So that because there's been a lot of conversation around who gets acknowledgement for what. Is it the AI that's getting acknowledgement for the created content, or is the person who prompted the AI that is going to be acknowledged for this content? Or is the person who trained or the company that trained the AI that will be acknowledged for this content? There is a lot of conversation going on around it. So it's always important to say that this is generated by AI. And you may be asking, how does it work? How do you watermark text? If you go to my article, which I used for one of our prompts, the article on water and checking using ChatGPT as a watermark checker, you see some of the things I wrote about text watermarking. Yeah, some models have such watermarks. Yes, some models do have. So, like in the European Union, I say in the European Union, in the in Europe, any AI generated content needs to be watermarked. It's in the EU specifically, all right, it is required that any AI generated content has to be watermarked, whether it is sound, whether it is image, whether it is text. You have to watermark it to warn the public that this is AI generated content so that people do not trust what is not human and they can trace um, should it be a false information, they'll be able to identify where that flow is coming from. Responsible use, avoiding misuse of AI spam, fake reviews, impersonation, plagiarism. This is one of the concerns. Like there is, I think, is Chevening scholarship that says that you cannot write with AI. Yeah, that's what Chevening says, that you can't write with AI, that you have to use your brain to write. So, aside that, there is that concern of avoiding misuse of AI. So, whenever you are interacting with these models, you want to be careful that you are not perpetuating fake news. All right. Fake news is going on in this era. It's louder now than it was some years ago because of how rapidly you can generate information with the help of AI. Okay, so that is a major concern. That is why you, as a prompter, a prompt engineer, should be able to verify every information that comes from AI. You should verify whether what it is saying is factual or true before passing it out to the general public. Then there is fairness and inclusivity, like we explained, writing prompts and generating outputs that are accessible and non-discriminatory. Okay, other ethical concerns, AI in sensitive domain. Yes, remember yesterday we were prompting ChatGPT to take on the role of a doctor. So you have to be cautious when using AI in some of these uh, domains, legal domain, education, hiring, especially hiring. A couple of years back in companies, I can't remember which, okay, in some banks. So they did a study to understand why certain people were receiving loans from the banks and why certain people were not likely to receive loans in the bank. And when they did the study, they found out that the bias was being propagated by the AI, that human beings had trusted the hiring AI. Oh, sorry, I said hiring, not hiring. I'm talking about loans right now. So human beings had delegated, banks had delegated that responsibility of identifying those who are loan worthy to these AIs. And these AIs were perpetuating a bias of always giving a particular group loans and ignoring the other group. Why? Because during these models training, there wasn't sufficient information about other groups. So the model was only perpetuating a bias that was imbibed during its training. So AI in sensitive domains, you have to be very, very cautious of this so that you do not expose public to danger. Be sure to have sufficient background in that domain. That is why a lot of times when we are building some of these tools, LLM tools, it's you would notice in some of these rules that they ask if you have experience in such and such domain, it is going to be a plus because you can't depend on the AI's knowledge. We are the ones who give the AI the knowledge. All right. So you can't depend on the person who you are teaching as a teacher. Source attribution. Remember, I said that there is also talk about who is getting acknowledged for what. Are you going to acknowledge the AI for the creation of the new content? Or are you going to acknowledge the person who is prompting the AI for using good prompts? Or are you going to acknowledge the company who designed and trained the AI? Who is getting the acknowledgement? But not only so, who is going to be held responsible if everything goes south. All right. So that's another uh, ethical concern. Um, Also ask for sightings, and ensure credibility of generated outputs. Then human oversight. Now, this is going to make me speak about the contest we've been having now, which is AI taking people's jobs. You know, I'm sure you are hearing it wherever you are. AI is going to take your job. AI is going to do this and that. But the truth is, you always need humans in the loop. Always. And these AIs are only as good as they are trained. So they need to be retrained when there is more information available, when there's more data or new data. You would find that in some websites, if you visit some websites, they have some recommenders, which we call recommendation systems. And you would notice that some of the recommendations they give on those websites are old and unrelated recommendations. Why is that so? It's because those AI models are not maintained. So unless they are maintained, they are going to make more meaningful recommendations and relevant recommendations to whoever is browsing their website. So you always need human oversight when dealing with LLMs, generative AI, and the whole landscape. You also need humans to for critical thinking because, like I said, AIs don't think; they just generate, they spew out what they learn. So you need someone who is going to take it through the chain of thoughts kind of prompting so that it has more meaningful responses. All right. That will be all for today. I'm going to step back and take your questions and comments. Thank you very much. Hello, Teju. Over to you, please. While we are waiting for Teju to respond, I'm just going to go ahead and respond to some of these questions that are here. Very interesting questions. Olatunji asks, what if the job is repetitive? Can we say AI will drastically reduce the number of human hands? That's a very, very insightful question, Olatunji. Which makes us go back in time, the Industrial Revolution. I can't remember when exactly, but it was because of what Henry Ford did. Henry Ford um, started the assembly line. So instead of people having to build vehicles by hand or with tools, Henry Ford employed machines to do all that work. So, yeah, AI will drastically affect, let's say, affect the number of human hands rather than reduce. Because if you're looking at it from the negative perspective of people losing jobs and people not doing what they used to do, you may not get the whole benefit and perspective of using AI. Let's look at the calculator, right? A couple of years back, they told us that using calculator in the exam hall was not appropriate, right? That it was illegal to use a calculator. Why? Because we were at a stage in our mathematical journey where it was required to use your brain. But things got very complex, and we needed to get certain answers in shorter amounts of time. And so we needed the calculator, all right? And we just had to get it, and we had to employ calculators. So if we didn't accept the calculators, then we wouldn't be having math geniuses as we have now in DSN. So I wouldn't say that AI would drastically reduce the number of hands, but I would say it is going to improve our speed of productivity. All right, it's going to drastically increase our productivity. So, but it all depends on the perspective in which you look at it. Tani asks, how is transfer learning used during fine-tuning of large language models? What are the risks of overfitting during tune control or fine-tuning? Can temperature tuning reduce hallucination in LLM outputs? Wow, Tani is way ahead of us. Okay, I'm going to try to address what is most relevant to everyone here because I know that it's not everyone who knows what transfer learning is and fine tune. But let me talk about temperature tuning because the other terms are more specialized terms. So, or TJ, do you suppose that I go ahead and answer that question directly? Has everybody had the fine tuning, learning, and all that overfitting? Has everybody had that training here? Okay, so let me just go ahead and answer about temperature control. Yeah, temperature control can control hallucination, but not entirely. It can control hallucination, but not entirely. Okay, okay. So, uh, Tani, we can have this later. Yeah. Lucy says, asked AI who owns the results of the prompt I keyed in. He said it was mine. Of course, it's yours. Lucy says, to be honest, I would think the older population would embrace AI easily since they have seen the production means throughout their lifetimes. Okay, that's a comment. Okay, I'm going to pass the floor to TJ. I saw Meta disqualified a Facebook account using an AI generating content as spark the growth. Use content that is not originally his. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that'll be all from me. TJ, over to you. Thank you so much for your time once again. So tomorrow will be very hands-on. Tomorrow is just going to be demonstration. No gisting, just demo all through.
Oh, hello, everyone. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ime, for this section. I'm sure we enjoyed this section. Okay, so don't forget uh, our trainees. Okay, so let me just. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen. Okay, so this is the attendance link. I'm very sure that this has been dropped and we have been filling it. If you have any issue with the attendance link, please do let me know. And then this event, if you are not registered, it's very important to register. So I won't be taking much of our time. The class has been very brief, and I won't like to take our time. Okay, so this is the Gen AI 7 Day Sprint Challenge. To a premium voucher for a year. So kindly take advantage of it. Okay, so for feedback, kindly use this link for feedback. So let me say thank you very much for joining. Tomorrow is another day. Let's be punctual. Let's be punctual, and we are going to be concluding. There's going to be projects, and so please watch out for it. And then it's going to run currently with other tracks projects. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.